When a billionaire says there's a private jet waiting to take you to a high-stakes poker game in the Caribbean islands, you don't ask questions, you just go.
Dude, we're here at this casino, Princess Casino in St. Maarten. We're gonna play, I think 25-50. I think that's what it is. It's probably gonna be way bigger.
Within hours of getting that text, I was standing on a runway in South Florida, staring at a $5 million private jet that was about to become my ride to the highest stakes game of the year.
We had to fire up the private jet. We're going straight to St. Maarten, where a massive poker game is waiting for us.
Staring out the window of a billionaire's private jet, I had to stop and ask myself, how is this actually my life right now? One minute I'm at home, the next I'm 30,000 feet above the Atlantic on my way to St. Maarten.
How long is the flight? Oh, that's a breeze. Let's see if we can make it in 2:15.
This isn't just another Caribbean island, it's the Monte Carlo of the West. It's a place where the yachts are bigger than houses, the casinos never sleep, and high-stakes gambling is just another Tuesday. It's the perfect place to win or lose a fortune.
I thought a broke person said something.
After a quick swim at the villa to soak in those beautiful tropical views, vacation mode is quickly flipping into work mode. We're heading to Princess Casino, one of the premier spots on the island, and they've opened up a private room just for us. The stakes? A casual 100-100 with a $200 straddle on a Tuesday. You know, just your average weeknight where a single mistake cost us as much as a car.
They say they run cash games here all the time. I don't see anyone in this room, so I think it just might be us tonight, which is kind of funny. We have this entire room to ourselves, but this is what we came here for.
I'm in for $10,000 and there's an open to $300 in front of me. I decided to put in the call here with King Jack offsuit and just play this hand pretty passively pre-flop, and three other players do as well. We are going 5 ways to a Jack 6-4 with 2 spades board. When the action checks to me, I don't want this to get checked through. There's a lot of draws out there like front door spades and the 5-7, 3-5 draws having an open-ended straight. So I decided to bet out for $900 here, and Tyler puts in the call. Everybody else folds, and the turn comes the 3 of diamonds. Tyler's in the cutoff. He has position on me the rest of the way, so I decided to get tricky here and go into check call mode. But unfortunately, when I check it over to Tyler, he checks behind. One thing to note about him is he's a pretty great player. He's aggressive as well, so checking here is kind of an interesting play where it allows him to go for a bet with a lot of worse hands. But when he checks behind and the river comes the ace of diamonds, there's $3,400 in the middle. It's possible he checked behind with the ace high flush draw, although an aggressive player like him, I would assume he would start betting on the turn when I check it over to him. So I decided to check it over to Tyler once again. Obviously, I'm going nowhere if he puts money in the middle, but unfortunately he checks behind. I turn over the Jack King off, and $3,400 is my reward. So even though the pot was relatively small, having gotten no value on the turn and river,
here's the deal. We just started playing. We're playing 100-100. Everyone's in for somewhere between 10 and like 50K. I'm probably just gonna get my stack in and then rebuy.
it's still a nice momentum builder, which brings us into this next hand from the low jack when I look down at pocket sixes. Dan opens it under the gun to $300, and I'm the only person to put in the call. And the flop comes optimal, you could say. King, king, 6, bang, we flop 6s full of kings. What a dream spot here. There's $800 in the middle, and Dan bets out for a 1/4 pot. I put in the call here, not trying to get him to fold a hand like pocket 7s, pocket 8s, pocket 9s. If he has a king, we're gonna get a lot of money in the middle. I'm not worried about that. And the turn comes the ace of spades, and he doesn't slow down now. He bets out for 2/3 the size of the pot for $900. At this point, I could consider raising, but what comes in on the turn is the ever so obvious ace-king offsuit and suited. So I decided to just put in the call once again in position, and off to the river we go, which comes a pretty gross queen of clubs. This isn't great because it now brings in king, queen offsuit and suited, both of which we had dominated on the turn. So it's gonna be pretty telling what he does on this river. If he checks it over to me, I'm obviously gonna make a nice size bet for value, but when he bets the exact size of the pot for $3,000, it's actually a a really interesting spot, and I think about it for a while. In games like this, I really want to act fast and be splashy and fun, but this is kind of a gross spot here. Dan hadn't been playing too many hands up until this point. On top of that, he raised under the gun and then bet all 3 streets into me, probably one of the tighter players at the table, so alarm bells are going off in my head, and I don't love this spot. Even though I flopped the essential nuts, I decided to let go of my hand here. I know a lot of you guys are wanting to punch your screen right now, but it just didn't feel right, and I went with my read, and you can't blame me for that. To this day, I still have no idea what Dan had in the hand. If you want to go over to the Hard Rock in Miami, into the back room, the private game area, and talk to Dan and figure it out for me, and then DM me on Instagram, that would be much appreciated. I've definitely lost a little bit of sleep. But when we pick up pocket queens in this next hand and Tyler opens it up under the gun to $300, I'm not scared at all. Of course, I'm going to come in for a nice juicy 3-bet, and he puts in the call. When the flop comes 6-5 deuce with 2 spades, the action goes check check on the flop. I decided to put these pocket queens into my checking back range here once in a while. Like I said in the first hand, Tyler is an aggressive player, and I would expect him to put more money in on the turn and river if he sniffs any weakness. When the turn comes a 9 of clubs, he now fires out for $800. I debate going for a raise, but decide just to put in the call. In the river comes the ace of hearts. I would expect him to continue betting here, so when he ends up checking it over to me, I am almost 100% sure that I have the best hand, and when you think you have the best hand, put some chips in the middle. I fire out for a very small and tantalizing $700 bet, to which he flicks his cards in the middle, taking down a nice $4,300 pot. Playing massive pots in the Caribbean with a billionaire, you're probably wondering, Wolfgang, how did you get in this spot? When I met John at the Hard Rock in Miami a few months back, he told me about his friend David, who owns a bunch of real estate in New Jersey, but also lives half the year in St. Maarten. He's been wanting John to take his high stakes game out there, but it's never happened. So sensing a cool opportunity, I gave him a push and said to bring me out there with my filmer Moy to document the whole experience for you all back home.
We get off on a commercial plane, there we got the people coming on the plane, cleaning up everything.
I need one picture with this guy.
Oh, I need a picture with this guy right here.
All right.
We're
He's
here.
the man, all in.
This guy's the man.
Getting from the jet to the villa was beautiful, but when I tell you this was one of the nicest houses I've ever been to, I'm not exaggerating even slightly. To think that I'm in this spot because I post poker videos online is insane. I definitely never envisioned something like this coming out of it.
Like, the island life is definitely appealing, right? You get away from the hustle and bustle, you just take a $20,000 jet here and you just relax in a humble place, and you can just really just get back to your roots, you know?
But at the end of the day, we're playing 100-100. I can't be too relaxed because we're right back in the mix with King-Queen offsuit. The $200 straddle is out in this one, and I make it $500 to go. Tyler puts in the call across the table. David does as well, and John, the straddler, folds. We're going 3 ways to a flop. It comes 7-5 deuce with 2 spades, and the action checks over to Tyler. Now, there's been a lot of hands in between the notable ones I've been telling you guys about, and in a bunch of them that I've been playing, the action checks over to Tyler, he takes a stab, and most everybody folds. Not many people are playing back against him, so even though I don't really have any backdoor draws, just 2 overcards, I decided to take a stand here for myself for the entire table and make it $2,700, and we get the snap fold. So picking up on that little bit of information along the session helped me win a nice $5,300 pot here, and that brings me into the next one. I'm on the button, and I decided to call with 9-8 of spades over a $400 raise, and 2 other players put in the call as well. The flop comes A7-6 with 1 spade, so I have an open-ended straight draw, and I have the backdoor spade draw. When the action checks over to me, I'm tempted to take a stab here, put money in the middle, and try to get a few better hands to fold, like king highs, queen highs. I can maybe even start to get a hand like pocket tens, pocket jacks to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but at the risk of getting check raised and in a gross spot, I decide to just check behind, and the turn pairs the board, coming the 6 of hearts. The only thing that changes is a hand like pocket sevens now has me drawing dead, but when the action checks over to me for a second time, if I was curious on the flop, I'm super curious on the turn. And although I'm really tempted to take a stab here, I decide to check behind for a second time, and it's a good thing that I did because the river comes the 10 of diamonds. Bang! We have the 10 high straight. I'm hoping someone finally wakes up and senses that no one is interested in the $1,700 pot and tries to take a stab. Of course, I would go for a raise there, but unfortunately it checks over to me, and that means I'm gonna have to put money in the middle. I mean, it's checked through twice. What do I really have here? 8, 9, maybe pocket 10s, although I think I'd probably start to bet 10s on the turn. So this looks a little bit suspicious. Tyler thinks about it for a long time, but then ends up folding. After the tank from Tyler, Dan decides to snap call me with 1 chip, wasting absolutely no time. I turn over what should be the best hand when I don't get raised on the river, and it is. He mucks his cards.
Lambo Tyler. Zigging when he should be zigging and zagging when he's supposed to be zagging.
20 for me.
I'm texting.
Where's Marie? Good to have you all here in me country, man.
Thank you, man.
Look at that, you guys. We started with 10,000 chips in our stack, and now I'm up to 14 grand. When I look down at ace 5 of hearts, a $200 straddles out there, and I am putting those newfound chips straight to work, and I make it $500 to go. We're gonna pick up 2 callers. The straddler folds, and the flop gives me top pair on an ace 9-3 rainbow board. When the action checks over to me, I'm in between 2 opponents. I usually start with a check here, and that's no different, and the action checks through. The turn comes a jack of clubs, and Daniel in the big blind now stabs for $700. I'm going nowhere. I could debate going for a raise, trying to target hands like queen 10, some flush draws having been picked up on the turn, but instead I just go into the very passive calling mode, and we lose the player on the button, so we're heads up in position to the river, which comes the queen of diamonds. There's $3,200 in the middle, and Daniel wastes no time. He doesn't think about it too long and then bets $4,200. It's an overbet, and now the pot has ballooned up to $7,400. If I put in the call, it'll be $11,600 in the middle, the biggest pot I will have played tonight by far. But I'm having second thoughts. Even though I have top pair and a lot of the draws have bricked, he still could have gotten there with a hand like king 10 of diamonds, king 10 of clubs for the Broadway straight. He also very easily could have a hand like ace jack, ace 3, ace 9, and goes for the bet on the turn and the river. The overbet is a little bit suspicious. The 2 draws being 10, 8, and clubs would definitely overbet here because Daniel's a great player and he would easily find that. But when you're playing poker, you have to think what the other opponent thinks about you, and at this point, I think the table is picking up that I'm just playing pretty decent hands. They haven't seen that I bluffed Tyler with king queen in a hand prior, so I just think that Daniel is more likely to have it here, and I decide to lay down my weak pair of aces. Making a big fold like that could have been an excellent read, but I also might have been distracted, my mind still thinking about our day on David's boat with everyone. He told us this wasn't even his best one, that the nicer boat is currently being custom built for him, and as long as I don't stack David in the poker game, we should get the invite to come back out sometime for that one, but for now, this boat will have to do.
This is what you get as a reward for losing thousands of dollars playing poker the night before. He's gonna go to boat. You guys should try it sometime.
His captain Nick, who by the way is on Instagram should you ever need his services in Sint Maarten, took us from the Dutch to the French side of the island, and David was pointing out stuff along the way. When we got there, everyone was letting loose. We had some food and drinks at a beach bar right on the water. Although after watching all this footage back, I realized I probably should avoid food for the next few months and park my fat ass in a gym, but I'm sure you guys will have no problem letting me know that in the comments.
How's it feeling, David?
Can't be better than this.
Even though it was an off day, being the competitive poker player that I am, I tried to get to know everyone's personalities better and pick up reads on my opponents when they're at their most relaxed and vulnerable.
What do you think about playing with Wolfgang today, John? How's it been?
I think it's been good. He pwned me last time we played, but I'm just gonna try to stay out of his way. That's my plan. I don't have a Pokemon card protector.
That comes into play in this next hand when I pick up 8-6 of diamonds versus John in the big blind. He checks it over to me, it's blind versus blind, and I make it $300 to go, and he puts in the call. The flop comes king 5-3 with 2 diamonds, and he checks it over to me, and I decide to stab for 1/3 the size of the pot. John decides to raise now to $1,200, and I have the 8 high flush draw, so I'm going absolutely nowhere. I toss in the additional $1,000, and we're off to the turn, which unfortunately pairs the 5. Hopefully he does not have a hand like king 5, pocket 3s, or even 5-3, because I would be drawing dead. You hate to see the board pairing card when you're holding a flush draw, because you could just be dead already, but when he bets out for $600, I'm not gonna fold my cards just yet. I toss in the call, and the river comes a very nice queen of diamonds. Now we're hoping he doesn't have queen 5, having gotten there on the river. There's $4,200 in the middle, and he starts counting out chips. I tell myself I am going to absolutely snap call the shit out of John when those chips leave his hand and cross the line, and that's what I do. $7,800 in the middle, and he turns over king 5 offsuit for a full house, one of the hands I was scared about on the turn. What a super cooler, and actually one of the only hands of the night. We get to see the opponent's hand. Unfortunately, it's going against myself here. If I would have won that hand, I would have had over $16,000 in my stack, but instead, I have just $12,000. I'm in the small blind, but I'm looking down at the worst hand in the game, and I'm happy. You might be thinking, Wolfgang, why are you happy? It's 7 deuce offsuit, but yes, we are playing the 7 deuce game for $200 a pop, so hopefully I can get this one through here. John opens it up on the button. You can see David is distracted with some food. We got Daniel over there on his phone, and after making it $300, John cuts off a piece of chicken parm and stuffs it into his mouth. So I think this is the optimal time to get the 7 deuce through, which comes queen 9-5 with 2 clubs. There's $2,500 in the middle, and I bet out for the exact same bet, around half the size, $1,200. My goal is to get this through, but if he calls here, I'm gonna bet the turn and the river. I have to collect the additional $200 from the remaining 6 players at the table.
Oh, you fuck. He's got 7 deuce, guys.
But you know what that means for me? I get to turn over the 7 deuce high, and we are gonna win an additional $1,200. Toss it over to me, dealer. Let's go. Even though that went pretty great for us, we end up losing $3,500 in a Cucuruchu pot or fold versus seat 1 Tyler. So let's bring it to the outro to see how I did on the session.
Sint Maarten was a blast. Huge shout out to David, you know, for all the cool experiences. We're here. It's like Nikki Beach, basically. We're basically in St. Bart's right now. We're on a boat. We're soaking it in. Our flight leaves in 2 hours, but who cares? It's been a blast. We lost money, but we had fun, and we're gonna come back in a few months, so that's the vibe, boy.
Get it, baby.
That's it, brother.
Run this shit back, cuz.
Run it back, bro.
Run it back. Instead of dive ski.
Little dive ski?